What's up, y'all? It's your boy Jay, back at you with episode 2 of Talking to Myself. Now, for those of you who don't know, Talking to Myself is a new series of mine that I'm doing on this YouTube channel where I take personal stories of mine and I do two things. I help you guys understand what I've gone through and what I've learned about myself, the world, and other people. If you're new here, welcome. Thank you for being here. My name's Jay. Everything that we do here is pretty much about me, and some of the things that are about me are supposed to kind of help you understand yourself, the world, or other people a little bit better. Now, if you expected this video to come out about 3 weeks ago, I'm sorry. I promise you, I'm sorry. From here on out, this Monday and every Monday moving forward, there will be an episode that comes out 6 a.m. Monday, every single Monday from here on out, no matter what. I'll tell you guys why I didn't record the episode. Well, it's not even that I didn't record it. I didn't post it. And honest answer is two things. One, I recorded it and I was kind of being a bitch about wanting to post it. I cried a little bit. A lot of the stuff that I shared wasn't things that I like to talk about. They're not things that I've shared with a lot of people before. Now, not gonna lie, I got over being a bitch probably like Wednesday of that week, 3-4 weeks ago. And by the time I realized I was okay with posting it, I lost it. I deleted it. It's gone. It's not on my cloud, it's not on my phone, it's not in my deleted, I don't know where it is. I chalked that up as an L, and during that time, I actually was just thinking a little bit about how I want to approach talking to myself. And don't get me wrong, I want to share what I mentioned earlier. I want to share the things that I've gone through, how they've made me feel, the things that I've learned about everybody in the world and myself. But what I don't want talking to myself to be is a every Monday, what's Jay crying about? I want to share those things, and I want those things to be important, and I want them to be things that you and I discuss and all of us discuss as a community and as a group. But I don't know that every Monday I want to be like, my mom did this and my sister did this and I sad. And there's nothing wrong with that. Within the video, I want there to be a little bit more of talking to myself, because you guys are hearing it now and you hear it in a lot of the content that I make. I love to talk. I especially love to talk to myself. I talk to myself about a lot of things. I think deeply about a lot of things, and I would love to share those things. Whether they're serious or not, whether they're trivial or not, whether they're real or not, doesn't matter to me. Not only do I not want to cry on here every single Monday only, but I also want to share the millions of things that I'm also talking to myself about, right? I used the time where I was being a bitch to kind of come up with a new formula, and that's where I've been for the last 3-4 weeks. So I'm sorry, I won't go anywhere again. Every Monday from here on out, we will have a video out. And if something happens, if I am a bitch, if my schedule gets messed up, if something happens with an upload and I lose a file, which has already happened apparently, then I will let you guys know here. But this is the new Talking to Myself. In the new Talking to Myself, not only will I share all the things that I mentioned, but I'll also just share things that I've been talking to myself about throughout the week. I think I said that right. For example, something that I have been talking to myself about since it happened, and I have been wondering if I'm crazy since it happened. I've been so excited to tell this little magic box that I talked to that you guys are gonna see me through somehow is okay. So let me give you guys some background. I live in Phoenix, Arizona. I live right between some really nice areas in Arizona. I live in between the edges of Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, and Old Town Scottsdale. If you're in Arizona, you know what those areas are. If you're in Phoenix, you know what those areas are. If you're not, Paradise Valley was named the number 5 for wealthiest neighborhoods in the country, in the United States. And Old Town Scottsdale and Scottsdale are very much like they're like the hoity-toity neighborhood of Phoenix. Where I'm from, Ocean Springs was that way. I'm not here to say that people in Scottsdale are hoity-toity or that people in Ocean Springs are hoity-toity. Some of them are, some of you are. If you have a problem with that, look in the mirror. And because we're in an area that has so much money and so many people, and also a different culture, I'm just exposed to, I guess, a lot of different things than I'm used to or that I've ever seen before. And sometimes it throws me off as a young Southern kid. It messes me up. Like I said, I'm on the edge of Paradise Valley. I'm right near like Paradise Valley Day School or something like that. It's like a little prep school by us. And because I'm so close to the school, I see a lot of the students that are in the area. And there's also a little restaurant down the street that a lot of those kids and their parents go to. And there's a lot of sports here, and there's a lot of families here. There's a neighborhood right behind us. So all that to say, I see a lot of like the kids, their families, and their interactions. And I saw the other day, I'm sorry, I'm just like trying to make sense of this because it's still, I'm getting ready to tell you guys about it, and it still doesn't make sense to me. I was driving past a restaurant, and I saw these kids, these boys. They couldn't have been older than 13 years old, and I mean that. Couldn't have been older than 13 years old. I saw them standing on their phones, kind of looking around. And when you see a group of 18-year-olds standing around all staring at their phones the way that they were, kind of looking up and down, looking around. Everybody's checking one phone. They're all looking at each other's phones. I'm just seeing them as I'm driving down the street. And I'm like, surely those kids are not waiting on an Uber, right? Because when you see 18-year-olds doing that, they're waiting on like an Uber. So I'm like, surely those kids aren't waiting on an Uber, right? Because where I'm from in South Mississippi, if my parents couldn't take me, the answer was no. If somebody else's parents couldn't take me, the answer was no. And if my parents couldn't take us, then that probably meant somebody else's parents couldn't take us. And guess what? The answer was just no. There was no like, call the Uber or anything like that. That's where I'm from. So I'm seeing these kids and I'm like, surely these kids are not waiting on an Uber. I wait a second. Not wait a second. I'm still driving. I'm just looking towards and trying to figure out what's going on. As I'm driving forward, I see a Waymo pull up. For those of you who don't know, Waymos are, I don't think they're everywhere in the US, and I actually don't think they're in very many places in the US. And I know Phoenix was one of the first places, if not the first place that they were deployed. Waymo is a fleet of self-driving Ubers around Phoenix. They have these Ubers that will pick you up with no driver. So the cars drive themselves around Arizona, Phoenix, and they pick people up and drop them off with no human interaction. So the cool thing is, you can be an adult, you can get an Uber, you don't have to worry about the driver, you don't have to worry about the scary sides of like Uber and Lyft, right, as it relates to like the humans. But I see this Waymo pull up, and I've never seen a Waymo before. I've never seen a Waymo be hailed, right? I've never seen a Waymo like pick somebody up. I'm seeing this Waymo, it turns on its little thing on top, it turns on a little siren, has a little code that it starts showing, and it pulls up to this restaurant that these kids are waiting at. And I see all of these kids. I see one of the kids get in the back seat, and then I saw the other kid get in the passenger seat. And I was like, well, they're kind of young. One of them's kind of young to be sitting in the front seat. I'm getting old, I understand that. No big deal. I said it to myself, like, dude, you're getting old, who cares? And then I see the youngest looking of the group, who also seems to be like the leader of the group, get in the driver's seat of the Waymo. And that just like blew my mind, because like, I'm gonna get serious and real, and I might just be an old Southern fogey. Who knows? Maybe my frontal lobe is developing, because we're gonna find out. Anyway, why is a kid, a lot of different things. First of all, why is a 13-year-old getting in a car without an adult? I don't come from a world where that's okay. I don't think it's okay. Not only do I not come from a world where it's okay, I don't think it's okay. Why isn't a kid getting in a car without an adult? What happens if something happens? What happens if the kids get hurt? What happens if the car wrecks? What happens if the jackass in the front, because he's a 13-year-old boy with a bunch of friends in the back, I've been a 13-year-old boy with a bunch of friends in the back, what happens if they just decide and also figure out how to drive that fucking car? What happens? That's stupid. First of all, that's stupid. I don't think those kids should be in a self-driving car, number one. I don't think that the kids by themselves should be in a self-driving car, number two. So not only do I think 13-year-olds should not be in a self-driving car, even if their parents are in it, in my opinion, I also don't think they should be in the car by themselves at all. In the car by themselves especially. Not only that, but like, I think deeply about this, right? This is why we do Talking to Myself. I think deeply about these things. Why is the kid getting in the car in the first place? I would imagine, I haven't looked into this, I don't want to, I want to live in my false reality, right? I would imagine that Waymo doesn't want people under the age of 18 or 16 maybe, riding their vehicles unattended. If they do, that's crazy, and maybe I'm just old and stupid. If Waymo's okay with it, maybe they know things that I don't. Fine. If it's 13 up, fine. I'm wrong. If it's not, does that mean that the parents set up an account for the kids to order Waymos whenever they want? And if that's the case, and this is where I get deep, right? And if that's the case, does that mean that this is happening so often that the parents needed to do that? Meaning that the kids are doing things on such a regular, unsupervised basis that their parents found it necessary to get them a payment card, or give them their own payment card, which is also crazy. Get them a payment card so that the Waymo can process it. Get them a Waymo account under their name so that the parents don't have to worry about taking their kids places. Sure, it's not that simple. I'm sure mom and dad have jobs. I'm sure mom and dad have responsibilities. Where I'm from, the kid is the number one responsibility. So if you can't take your kid somewhere because you have work, because that is also a big responsibility, the answer is no. When I wanted to go skating, right, on a Friday night, but my parents had to work late, which never happened, but in the rare occasions where it did, and I called my parents and said, hey, can I go out tonight? And they couldn't come and get me, and my friend's parents also couldn't come and get me, the answer was just no. And I find it very hard to believe that my parents would have ever even considered an Uber, a Waymo, anything but a babysitter driving us around. You know what I mean? Somebody that they paid, somebody that they knew, somebody from our community driving us around. So I'm off my soapbox. That's it. These are the types of things that I want to talk about in talking to myself. That's it. And the reason, or like one of the big things, I'm kind of getting off that now. That's all. I just think it's crazy that the little rich kids out here ride Waymos by themselves. That's really it. If I'm wrong for that, I'm wrong for that. The reason why I say that story, the reason why I want to say change talking to myself a little bit is because you guys know this. If you're following me on any other platforms, which by the way, if you're not, you should. It is at Deshaun Jason. I'll put it boom, boom. We talk about the fire things. I'll put it right here. It's also below in the description. One of the things that I wanted to get to with talking to myself was helping you guys understand what some of my goals are as it relates to content and outside of content. Because I'll start with the content thing. There's a lot of different content that I want to make that's not just this. It's not just telling you guys about myself. It's not just, if you follow me on other platforms right now, it's not just about motivation, because that's a lot of what I'm doing right now. It's really just talking about where I come from and giving motivation based on my background. It's largely what a lot of my content's based off of. Those people who know me know this about me. I am not by any means a one-sided guy. I am a 101-sided die. I love a lot of things. I am a squirrel in the brain. I'm very interested in a lot of things. It does not take a lot to spark an interest in me about things. And because of that, there are a lot of topics that I'm interested in diving into, talking about, and especially creating content around. And I will say there's 101 things that I'm interested in, but there's only a few that I really want to make content about. And I just kind of want to prepare you guys for some of that, I guess, some of the content that I want to make. Because again, it's not just about me or motivation. There's some other things that I really want to do in content and also in life. And I'm going to kind of tell you guys about some of those things today so that you can expect to hear and see more of them in the future, not just in talking to myself, but also in all the other content that I release. So one of the biggest things that we're going to do here is this. Talking to myself Mondays, right? This Monday will come out 6 a.m. every single Monday, no matter what. Another series that I'm gonna be doing is one that I've already started. It's called Secrets for Success. Those are where I take a lot of the stories that I talk about here and I boil them down into quick 60-second points and turn them into motivational clips, basically. Secrets for Success is another thing that I do that you guys see on YouTube as well. Other things that I'm going to be doing on that vein is a little bit more voiceover work, a little bit more motivational work in the realm of that success content, right? It'll just look a little different. I've always done a lot of this face-to-face with the camera because I think that's what people like and that's what I like to do. But I know that there are other forms of motivation I can give to people, and so I want to do that. And I'm, again, just telling you guys about it because I want you to be aware. The other ones that I really want you guys to know about are two really big ones. Three really big ones. One is cooking content. You guys know this about me. I love to cook. I love to cook. I think I am Blackish Rachel Ray. I love to cook, and I love to share my cooking with the world. And I love to teach people how to cook because it's not as hard as people think it is. And so you're gonna be seeing a lot more of that here too. I've actually come up with a lot of really good ideas for that. I've been thinking, as you can tell, about my content. And I've gotten really organized with the cooking stuff. We're gonna be doing dairy series where I teach you guys how to make yogurt and teach you guys how to make cream cheese and teach you guys how to make sour cream and teach you guys how to, I just made mozzarella cheese the other day for the first time. All those things are so easy and I want to show people how to do stuff like that for a lot of different reasons. The other one that I have been really into for years and just, I think I'm just afraid to do it, is gaming content. Something that I'm really passionate about, I've always been passionate about, is gaming montages. I grew up watching a lot of like the FaZe and Optic sniping montages. I've always wanted to make those for myself. I've always wanted to make those for a community of people who appreciated them. As I grew up, they just kind of fell out of like the forefront of like gaming content because it came more about influencers and streaming and less about the gameplay. And I want to bring that back. I want to be the one that does it. People do it still now. FaZe is doing it again now, which is super cool. And I want to start doing some Valorant montages. I actually already made my first one. I recreated one that I did like 3 years ago. It might not be perfect, it might not be great, but I'm going to get better over time, and I want you guys to be aware that I'm going to be creating more Valorant montages, and with that, doing other gaming content as well. And the last thing that I'm going to be doing is a radio show. I've always wanted to run a radio show. Last year, I think it was last year, I was blessed with the opportunity to be the host of a radio show. I was the host of Esports Connection it was at the University of California, Irvine. I ran a real radio show. I was the host of it, I didn't run it. I worked with the studio manager, thank you. I worked with the studio manager. It was really cool. I gained a lot of valuable experience doing that, learned a lot, and basically figured out that I want to run a live show because there's just something different about running a live show versus doing something like this. And I love both of them. So I'm also going to be doing that. That is TBD right now, but it'll be a new show. It'll likely happen on a daily basis. Details to come on that. And then on top of that, guys, I'll be honest, I'm also gonna be doing some cool, trendy stuff. You know, I don't dance, I have 2 left feet. I'm kind of goofy as it relates to being like a pretty personality, because I talk about being pretty, but I look pretty. Everything else about me is really goofy. I'll also be doing some cool, goofy, trendy, fun content, so you can expect to see dancing videos and mukbang videos and whatever else Sarah wants to do, that's fun. Those are the different things I wanted to tell you guys about, and those are the different things I kind of wanted to warn you about, and it's what I've been working on in the background since I didn't post the last Talking to Myself video. So, all that to say, this is the new form of talking to myself. And I've got one story to share with you guys, because that's what talking to myself is, about something that I've gone through and what I've learned about it. So, I'll share that story with you guys, and then I promise I'll let you go until next Monday at 6 o'clock. I promise. Thank you for staying this long. I love you. Click comment, like, subscribe, explosion, link below, all that. So something that I didn't really understand about myself when I was growing up was my natural response to adversity. And what I mean by that is when I was a kid, I never fully understood how my actions related to the adversity I was experiencing, right? The things that I was going through that I didn't want to, and my natural response for those things. Because at that point, what I've come to understand now as a 25-year-old is the reason why I didn't fully understand it as a 13-year-old is because I hadn't had enough experience to know, like, oh yeah, this is me. You know, like this is who I am, this is how I react, because I've done it this many times, right? I'd only done it once or twice. You know, I'd only had, in my opinion, one real moment where I was faced with, who are you? You know, and that was when my mother passed away at 12, 13 years old. And this is it's a crazy story to tell to help you guys understand my natural response to adversity, but I'll tell 2 stories because it's cool that I'm wearing this Little League World Series shirt because it was the year that I went to the Little League World Series, actually. And it was the same year that I went to the Little League World Series, it was the same year that my mother passed away. That year, it was a hot summer, and we were expected to play against Ocean Springs. I actually mentioned them earlier. Play against Ocean Springs in the district championship. Whoever won that district championship was basically guaranteed to go to the Little League World Series. So we're in that summer, 11 and 12-year-old All-Stars baseball. And that summer it was hot, and my papa used to be really hard on me about hydrating. At this point, I'm living with my nana and my papa. That's my mother's parents, so my grandparents. I'm living with them, and my papa was really hard on me about drinking water throughout the day because it was so hot that summer. It was 100 plus that summer. And if we went to the regional, we were gonna go to Texas. It was gonna be even hotter there. So his big thing that summer was you need to be hydrated so you don't get hurt, and you also need to hydrate so you can kind of get used to this heat because it's gonna be even hotter in Texas, right? So that was kind of the word that summer. That summer was also the year that Call of Duty Ghosts came out. Ghosts is my favorite Call of Duty game of all time, and my parents knew that because I spent all of my time playing it that summer. I'll never forget. Something else, kind of background, I guess, is my papa drove a very old Toyota truck when we lived in that house at this time. It was one of those like small 2-door Toyota trucks that I don't even know if people drive around anymore because I don't hardly see them anywhere. It was so old at the time. This is 2012, so it was old at that time. It was so old at the time that you could hear it literally from a mile away. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not kidding. You can ask anybody who knew my papa at the time. You can ask my parents. You can ask my papa. You can ask my nana themselves. That car was so loud that me and my sister would be at home during the summer or after school, but right now it was during the summer. We would be at home, and at our house, we had to have the chores done before our parents got home because we normally had like an hour. We had a reasonable amount of time to do that. The only real chores we had was pick up your room, do your homework, and do the dishes. That was our only real thing we had to do. What my sister and I would normally do is we would procrastinate and we wouldn't do anything until we heard my papa's truck. And then we would jump up as soon as we heard his truck down the street, and we would knock everything out before he walked into the house. And it was a summer day where I was playing Call of Duty Ghosts. I'll never forget. I was playing Call of Duty Ghosts. I had moved my TV from my bedroom to the living room and placed it on the coffee table in the living room. PlayStation sitting on it, and all my stuff set up. And then I had this tall Nukes cup. It's the same cups you get from like sports games and stuff. Just one of those tall, big plastic cups. And I had a big plastic cup sitting next to me, full of ice and water that I had not drank all day. It was sweating like a dog. Sitting next to me because I just hadn't touched it all day. I've been grinding COD with my friend, my best friend at the time actually. Still my best friend. I'll never forget, I heard my papa's truck from down the street. And we had already done our chores. We'd been there all day. So we'd already done our chores. But I hadn't drank any water. And it was only a couple hours till practice. He was gonna ask me, we had a relationship where he could tell I was lying, so he could walk in the door and ask me how many glasses of water I drank, and he'd be able to tell how many I actually drank. I was afraid that he was gonna come in, see my full glass of water, see me playing this game, and get pissed off, right? Because also I had a game that day. I hear his truck come in, I jump up, I start drinking my water. I get out of the game. I still got the game on, it's not a big deal, I'm playing it right, but I turn off the game, I start drinking my water, and I start acting like I'm prepping for the game. Right. I'll never forget, his car gets under the house. Our house was on stilts. We were on the water. He pulls in under the house, and I heard his car door shut, and that was normal. And I'll never forget, because I was sitting in the living room. Normally I'd be sitting in my room. Living room is like right above where the car's parked. I heard one door close, and then I heard another door close. Like, that's weird. It's like it's Monday, whatever day it was. It's a regular day of the week. No reason for anybody to be here. Definitely no reason for my Nana to be home early, because my papa normally got home around like 3 o'clock and my Nana normally got home around like 5, 6 o'clock. And so he was getting home a little early. It was like 2 o'clock, like maybe 1 o'clock. A little early, but not outside of reason. But then I heard a second door shut, and that was weird. And then I heard a third door shut. And I'll never forget. Hand on my heart, hand on the Bible, hand on whatever book you read. I'll never forget. I grabbed my, I was young at the time. I grabbed my Sidekick phone. I still have it actually, my little, the phone that you slide up and it has a keyboard under it. I click that, I slide that up, and I'll never forget. Before anybody came upstairs to the house, I texted my best friend Colton, because I jumped off the game, said, I gotta go. I gotta get ready for the game. Texted him and said, hey man, I think my mom's dead. I'll never forget it. I texted him that before anything happened. Before anybody came upstairs, before anybody talked to me. I texted my best friend and I told him that. And he was confused, he's texting me, calling me, trying to figure out what I'm talking about. I'll never forget, it was like a movie. I remember looking over at a big glass screen sliding door, or glass sliding door that goes into our living room. And I saw my papa, they're in their 50s. I saw my papa carrying my Nana up the stairs. Carrying her up the stairs. And I knew. When I saw her folded in half, my Nana, who I've seen cry and curse on an amount of times I can count on one hand. Just because she to me is the image of what a matriarch can and should be to a family. What a mother and a grandmother can be to a family. I saw her broken in a way that I'd never seen her before, and I knew. I hadn't even seen her face yet. I just saw my papa carrying her, and I saw her broken in half, and I knew. My papa gets home, he comes and he grabs Jasmine out of her room, tells me to come outside and sit with him, and he told me that our mother had passed, told us that our mother had passed, that they just got back from the morgue or whatever it is to identify the body, and that was it. And basically that we don't really know what the next steps are, but we'll be living with them. And we'll be figuring it out from here, but that our mother is no longer on this earth with us. And I'll never forget it, guys, because I think I've only said this to, I can count on one hand the amount of people who I've said this to. I didn't cry that day. I didn't cry that day. It's hard for me to say why. I still don't exactly know why. I can theorize all day. Me and my therapist have been for years. There's a lot of different reasons as to why, genuinely. There's a lot of different reasons why a person might respond that way. But the reality is I didn't cry. And not only did I not cry, but throughout the day, I kind of just started to focus on what I had to do that day, and that was play ball. And I'll never forget, people start flooding over to the house, and people start bringing flowers, and people start coming over and puppy dog eyeing us, which I hate. That's a whole different thing. They start, I'm so sorry, and we're so sad for you, and I'm whatever. I remember during that, everybody was kind of coming up to me and being like, so Jay, have you told your team that you're not playing today? And I remember kind of looking at everybody being like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, you have a game and your mom just died, so have you told your team that you're not going to be there yet? And I was like, no, because I'm going to be there. I have a job to do. We're going to the Little League World Series this year. I can't just quit on my team. And also at the time, I was one of the 2 oldest kids on the team, so I can't just not show up. I'm a leader. And I'll never forget specifically how crazy my aunts looked at me. Because they love me, and they love baseball, and they love coming to my games. But I just remember, I'll never forget the way that they looked at me and how crazy they thought it was. That's how I wanted to handle my business that day. I pitched that day, and we won. And I didn't cry about my mother passing away until we beat Ocean Springs in the district championship, until the job was done. And as a kid growing up, I never understood that response. I never understood if it was right, if it was wrong, if it was normal, if it was not normal, if it was okay. But what I did know is that I used those emotions I used that pain. I talked about this in my last video. I used that pain. I used the power in the pain to create something. That summer, it was baseball. What it became over time for me was my esports career. I used the pain, the power from that pain to create this esports career. That's how I used the death of my mother. That's something that I learned about myself through that experience. But when I was going through it, I didn't quite know if that was the full case because I just never gone through anything else like that. That was the only one time that I ever gone through something where I had to face myself and say, who are you? That's how I handled it as a kid. And fast forward to now, where nobody knows this story. I think besides Sarah. I don't even think my immediate family knows the story. When I found out that my sister passed away. Because I handled it very similarly. I think it says a lot about me, and I'll talk about what I've learned and after I tell you, but what I'll say for now is I think it says a lot about me. I think it says a lot about my character. I think it says a lot about the heights that I'll reach because of the heights that I've already reached, and I'll explain what I mean in a second. When my sister passed away, I'll never forget this. It's like a dream, just like with my mom's stuff. I had just landed in Dallas, Texas. I had just landed from a flight, minutes. I'd been on the ground for minutes after flying from Phoenix to Texas for May Madness. May Madness is basically the college esports version of March Madness. 64 teams, 4 different sports, 200 plus teams, under one roof, one weekend, big deal, national champions are named. We had 2 teams. I think 2 teams. Yeah, 2 teams competing in May Madness. I had about 40 people that I was responsible for entirely. I'm the director of the program. I had about 40 people that I was responsible for that day and that weekend, both for making it to and from safely and also competing at a high level and representing the university well. I found out that my sister passed away after we landed with all 40 people in Dallas, Texas, in Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. My papa called me. I'll skip the phone call because it was scary. He told me that my sister had passed and that he was the one who had to identify the body, which is crazy because I've never had to do that, and I hope I never have to do that because that's a crazy thing for a man to have to do. He told me that, and I'll never forget. It felt like somebody punched me in the stomach. I can feel the pain now, actually. I can feel the place where the pain was. I fell to my knees. I remember it was like I lost life. All of my everything left me and I just collapsed to the ground because I just felt like my world was ending. Sierra means a lot to me. Yeah, Sierra just means a lot to me. And she represents a lot to me as well. And to know that she wasn't with me anymore, it hurt, obviously. But I shocked myself the entire weekend and everybody around me because I got up, and as I was standing up, one of my coworkers, one of the people who I manage, an adult, full-time adult under me, saw me on the ground, came up to me as I was getting up, asked me if I was okay. I looked her in the eyes and said yes, grabbed her, went to all my other staff that I was managing because it was like 8 staff, 7 staff, and the rest were students. And so I went and told my staff, hey guys, my sister just died. I've got a lot of shit to figure out. I don't know what I need to figure out. I'm talking to my Nana, I'm talking to my sisters. I don't know what's going on. I'm just letting y'all know just in case I have to leave, just in case I have to take a phone call, just in case I disappear and you don't know where I'm at. It's probably related to this. So I'm just letting you guys know for now, this is what's going on. And I did that half expecting myself to be like, all right, let's check out of your job and let's focus on your family for a second. I didn't do that. I got all the rental cars for everybody, got everybody's bags. We went to baggage claim, got everybody situated, got everybody taken care of, got everybody to the hotels, made sure everybody knew what the plan was for the weekend, went and shook hands that night with everybody. I canceled one meeting that day. Sorry, Optic, thank you. But sorry, Shay, love you. I did cancel one meeting that day. But other than that, I proceeded with business as normal, business as usual. And throughout the weekend, I wondered if that was good for me. After the weekend happened and I got back to Arizona and had a breakdown and finally cried, I realized that was what was best for me. And it was very similar to how I handled the situation with my mom. Yeah, I hear you and this sucks, but I have a job to do. And I'm a leader, so I gotta do it. It sucks and I don't want to, but it just is what it is and I have to. It's just what I need to do. And I don't say those things to pat myself on the back. I don't say it because I'm proud of it. I say it because it's what it is. That's the way that I naturally respond to things. So I've learned on 2 separate occasions now, I'm very good at just kind of focusing on the task at hand, just kind of wiping the slate, cutting out the emotions, cutting out the bullshit, cutting out what I call the bullshit, and focusing on the fact at hand. The fact at hand is I have 40 people that I'm responsible for in a state that none of these people have been to, and most of them don't know where they're at, and we're here to compete at a high level while representing a university. That's what we're here for. So we've got to get the job done and then I can cry. I don't say that because I'm proud of being that way. I also don't think it's something that you should strive for. I think you're either this way or you're not. I say that because I didn't develop this. This is just the way that I am. And I say that to you because I don't want you to think you need to be like this. So that's one. The other thing is that it says to me a lot what I've learned. That's what I've gone through. What I've learned about what I've gone through on 2 separate occasions now is that is the cloth that I'm cut from. When I, very often growing up, I and people around me likened me to geniuses. Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Albert Einstein, Kanye West. And I'll be honest with you guys, on 2 different ends. On the ego end, I love it, obviously. I love being compared and also comparing myself to people who are great, right? LeBron, Michael Jordan, all those different people. But at the same time, there is a humbleness that I have in comparing myself to those people and also being compared to those people because I understand the capacity that I have as it relates to the capacity that those people have. And I know that I am just as good, if not better, than those geniuses in a lot of ways. And I say that humbly because I know, this is what I mean by that. I know that Kobe Bryant reacts the same way to those things as I do. I know that Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, they react the same ways to things that I do. And that's the difference between me and other people. That's the difference between Bill Gates and those other people. And when I was a kid, I didn't know if I was that way because it was the only time I'd ever had to face myself and say, well, who are you, right? But as an adult, now that I've gone through this experience a second time and I've responded to adversity in exactly the same way, and the only difference was that I allowed myself to feel emotions this time, which is also a signal of growth, which is great. I have learned that I'm cut from the same cloth that a lot of people talk about and a lot of people wish that they were. And it's not something that I'm proud of because I'm only cut from this cloth because my mom and my sister died when I was 13 and 25 years old. That's not something to be proud of. But that is the reality, is that I've gone through those things, and because of that, I've developed this muscle to react to adversity in a way that most people don't. And it's not to say that I'm not proud of it, but it's also to say that I don't stand on a hill being proud of it. It's just who I am. And it's something that I've learned about myself, and it's the thing that I know has taken me this far and will continue to take me further. Because what I mentioned at the beginning with my mother, that's what got me here. You guys have seen the mountain view that I have. You guys have seen this lifestyle that I live, and I mean that humbly. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not even close. But I'm definitely living above the American average without a college degree and working in a field that I love only because I wanted to prove my mother right. And my sister just passed away. And all the things that I mentioned to you guys at the very beginning of this video about content and all the different things that I want to do as it relates to content are the same things that I did when my mother passed away as it related to esports. Does that make sense? So all the things that I said I wanted to do after my mother passed away, they were esports. And I did every single one of them because of all the power I had in my pain. And here I am again after my sister passed with all this power from my pain, and I'm doing the same thing but with something different. So I've learned that I am exactly who I think I am and who I've wondered myself to be as a kid, because here I am today, having gained all the things that I wanted from the pain, the power of my pain, and here I am again looking forward at all the things I want from social media, content, all these different things, and knowing that the thing that sits behind me is the same thing that started it the first time. Does that make sense? And so the reason why I'm sharing all those things with you guys today and why I'm so excited to get restarted with talking to myself is because this is the beginning of that, and you guys are going to get to see it. Because the reality is, esports, man, I did that, and I joke about it, but it's the truth. I did that in the basement of a library. I did that alone in my bedroom for years. I did that in different states across the US and different places in the US that most people wouldn't go, most people don't know about, most people wouldn't take the risk to do, but I did it. And I did all of it by myself. I'm excited for you guys to be with me on this social media journey because I had the thing that I needed in the first place. It was Sarah. And the other thing that I needed to learn about myself was how to handle my emotions. I've done those things. So now here I am, facing an even more painful thing, having gained a lot of things from the first painful thing and wanting to gain more. And the fact of the matter is, guys, I get everything that I want. I've never wanted something and not gotten it. This mountain view that I have is exactly what I wanted. This job that I have is exactly what I wanted. This woman that I have is exactly what I wanted. And here I am again with an event that is going to act as a catalyst for all the other things that I want in life. And you guys are going to get to see it. And that's what I'm excited about today. So that's what I've gone through. That's what I've learned. If you stuck around this long, I love you. Thank you so much. This video will be coming out every Monday, 6 a.m. for the rest of the time. And if it doesn't, you'll hear it from me first. My name is Jay. I go by Jay the Gaming Motivator or just Jay. If you like this, leave a comment, drop a like, or subscribe. Thank you. I love you. Stay gaming, stay motivated, be you. Later, go.